Good evening. At this time, I want to call our regular monthly board meeting to order. Appreciate you guys coming out tonight. Reason we're having an early meeting, we meet with the commissioners tonight at 6 o'clock, and it's always an exciting night. I guess we look forward to whatever they can do to help our school system, and usually they do a great job of trying to do everything they can to help our school system. We certainly appreciate that. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Biggs, you mind to say a quick prayer for us, please, over the meeting?
Thank you. Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for this opportunity to come here today, Lord. We ask you to honor each and everything that we do here today, Lord. Honor the people that's coming here today, Lord. Keep us all safe, Lord. Help us keep the right frame of mind in everything we do. We ask all these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.
This time, would you please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before I turn it over to Dr. Gainey, I just want to say a few things. Last time we had a board meeting, we approved a bus tier plan, and we'd asked the transportation department to go out and find a good plan to save money. We're short on bus drivers, and they did just that. They did an excellent job going out and doing that. They brought a plan back, and we approved that plan that night. But sometimes what we didn't do that night, we should have gotten a little more input from parents and maybe took in some more consideration. And since then, when I went home that night, I called Mr. Cutler and Mr. Diggs the next day, and Ms. Barlow, I think Tracy too, when we were talking, maybe we rushed into this a little too much, and which we probably did. I mean, the transportation department did what we needed them to do, what we asked them to do. But as a board, we represent the people, and we should listen to them and take into what, we can't make you all happy. We know that, we live that. But a few things that I heard that I certainly can understand were parents, what were they going to do? They would be going into work late. They had just dealt with COVID with their employers, with being quarantined and all that, and working with employers. What do you tell them now? Parents in that area with longer drives to Greensboro, etc. How would they get to work? I mean, it was just a lot of unanswered questions for parents. Parents that depended on maybe middle schoolers to look after the younger ones before they left to go to school. And that would be lost. And then another thing, I attended URA Ridge's graduation, and they only had, I think they had 44 to graduate, but I'm gonna tell you something, those 44, it's great, even though the numbers are small, to see the close knit. And anyway, we talked a lot that night. That was a special night for me, but URA Ridge, we spent the last 3 or 4 years making it a high school, and I think we hurt some feelings then because you kind of, when we included into that, we had made the statement high schools would be a part of it. So that hurt a few feelings, but anyway, I guess with all that said and done, I'm sure maybe we could look at something down the road, maybe something a little different, but later on tonight, I'm going to ask for a motion that maybe we back up on this plan for now. And I do appreciate the work you guys done. I know the transportation, you spend a lot of time, but also, as a board, I think we have to take into consideration what works best for the people. And at this time, and another person said, we put out school calendars, and I know you mentioned that, Todd, and for a month and let them set for comments. But I sat here that night and said, well, we might get a lot of comment, but I knew we'd get comments either way, whether you put it out to the people or not. When the people aren't satisfied, you get the comments. So, trust me, we got the comments, and I think if you make a mistake, you fix it, and so it's where you end up, you know. But anyway, with that being said, at this time, I would like to turn it over to our superintendent for some comments.
Thank you, Mr. Cook and board members. Just want to share a couple of things with you. Just want to take a minute and thank all the staff members for all of their hard work as we closed out the 21-22 school year, another great school year. And on June 8th, we had great graduation ceremonies. I want to say there was 7 throughout the school system that night. And that was after we'd had a great ceremony on May 20 with the early college high school. So just want to say a big thank you to staff, principals, parents, community members for making those events great ones. And just note that there's a lot of work underway right now for the 22-23 school year. And I hope that everybody here tonight and out listening has a great summer, and we look forward to the return of our students and staff members in August 2022 for the upcoming school year. So that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Daniel. At this time, I ask for an approval of the May 16th and June the 6th, 2022 minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we're going to move on to the recognitions. We're supposed to recognize Randall and baseball team, 2A state baseball state championships, but they're unable to be here tonight. So I'm not sure when we'll do that, maybe the next board meeting. But we do have one recognition tonight. I'm certainly glad you're here. I'll turn it over to Tim to introduce her.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cook. Good afternoon to you, to our board members, and Dr. Gainey, and our guests. And you know, the past 13 months have been really an outstanding, a time of outstanding athletic accomplishment in our school system. If you recall, at last July's board meeting, we recognized Randall High School's baseball team for being a state champion. We also recognized at that meeting a high jump state champion in track. In this past November, we recognized a state champion volleyball team. In this past March, we honored a state champion wrestler and some other wrestlers who placed at the state, in the state level. So this spring, we've continued the run of athletic success. Randall High, as Mr. Cook said, their baseball team won the second consecutive state championship, and we will be recognizing them at a future meeting. The Wigmore High School girls soccer team won a state championship, and we will recognize those team members at our board meeting on July the 18th. So that's coming up, but tonight we do have recognition, a very special athletic accomplishment by a track athlete at Southwestern Randolph High School. Josie Allred of Southwestern Randolph High School finished second in the state at the 2A level in the girls' high jump at the state championship competition at North Carolina A&T State University on May 20th. Josie cleared the bar at 5 feet 2 inches, which was actually the same height that was cleared by the first place finisher. But based on the technicalities and the way that they do this on the number of attempts, Josie was designated as the state runner-up. So it is worth noting that she was very, very close to being state champion, but runner-up is still a great accomplishment. I was going to ask Josie to come forward. She already has, and she's gotten her certificate. And so can we have a round of applause?
Josie, would you mind just giving us, clear that table right over there?
I think the audience might prefer to see you try to clear that thing.
Hey, I'm going to tell you, I'm laying right in the middle of it.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one person signed up for public comments tonight. It's Terry Yates, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Terry Yates. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I appreciate what Mr. Cook had to say concerning the change in the schedule for the school system. the time change at Uwharrie Ridge and Tabernacle, there's a 1 hour, 20-minute difference. It's gonna put a very unnecessary burden on the parents and the grandparents. We sit in line at both schools, and I've got 5 grandchildren. That's 3 at Tabernacle, 1 at Uwharrie Ridge, and 1 at the RCC Early College. So we pick them up, we stop at Tabernacle. The timing is good to go from there to Uwharrie Ridge, and then to Ashford to the Early College. With this change, we're gonna have to backtrack a lot. It's gonna be, and I've heard from a lot of parents, as I'm sure you have, and there will probably be more here now, but most of them are working and can't get off to be here, maybe to comment, but it's gonna put an extra burden, as high as gas is, you all know that, and we spend a lot of time on the road, picking up our grandchildren, and I understand the situation you're in. I realize that bus drivers are hard to get. It's hard to retain them, but I'd just like to suggest that you consider the law of supply and demand. When there's a gas shortage, the price of gas jumps up. When you need bus drivers, I think that, which the commissioners, it would be a good evening to talk to them about that, but bus drivers needs to have their pay raised significantly to retain good drivers, to recruit them and retain them. That's worth a lot when they're busing our children. It's a sad situation when someone can get a job and flip hamburgers for almost as much as a bus driver makes, and they've got probably 40 students, lives in their hands that we trust them with. Their pay should be brought up, and I'm sure there can be some trimming in the county budget to make up. I know it's gonna cost money. I worked for DOT for 30 years. I know the situation on the money deal with the state or county, but it can be found where there's a priority, you can find the money. I've seen that too many times in the past. Another issue is the pay needs to be significantly raised. Another issue is the students with behavior problems need to be suspended temporary. And I know my time is out, but they should be held accountable for their actions. This is a big issue for a lot of drivers. There don't seem to be enough discipline, and I'd ask you to reconsider this. Students that cause problems need to be temporarily suspended from being able to ride a bus so they don't cause all these problems. I thank you for your
Thank you.
attention and ask you
Thank you, Mr.
to
Diggs.
reconsider
Thank
this.
you.
Okay, this time we need a motion to adopt the meeting agenda.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Information, Ms. Lowe.
Good evening, board members. Once again, per Board Policy 6420, the Randolph County School System has entered into the following contracts or contract amendments that the superintendent has already approved since during the past month that total more than $50,000. So we have 5 tonight. The first one is Pfeiffer University. This is tuition for AIG add-on license for some of our employees. The next one is Felix Hernandez Painting. That would be contract painting at Randolph High School, $127,000. Caroline Thomas LLC, that's an activity bus, $106,800. Laura Reed, contract psychologist services for next year for 22-23, $79,734. And Rents Eden Oil, diesel fuel and gas, that's a blanket purchase order for $100,000 for the rest of the year. Any questions?
Has the state they gonna do anything to help out with the crazy price of diesel? Or?
So we have received, we did receive one allotment for fuel, and we received one allotment on some equipment. We're supposed to get another allotment for fuel and maybe another allotment for equipment also. And no, you didn't ask about the equipment, but yeah, one allotment so far for fuel. It wasn't that much. I'm trying to think, maybe $30-some thousand off the top of my head, but I have to look. So
Y'all had any issues getting diesel? No. I know some places, some of the guys I deal with have had some issues getting diesel.
I don't know, Larry, did.
Yeah.
There's been some times we're supposed to do the delivery and it get pushed to next week, but we've never been out. Lindy does a great job staying on top of it.
Has there been any talk with the ESSER money, possibly being flexible with that, because due to, they're making all that together?
Yeah, so we can, I did find out late in the year, maybe a few weeks ago at DPI, at a meeting that we could use ESSER money,
If needed?
if needed, and so that's something we'll look at. It was really too late to really incorporate that into the plan this year, so that's something we can look at next year.
Because it's all linked together.
It is. ESSER 2 and 3, there's some flexibility there, even though with ESSER 3, a certain percentage is for learning loss. But there is some flexibilities to help sustain current activities, and I think that was the wording that was used.
Great.
That's good. So it's something we can look at for next year and possibly the next year.
Any more questions, comments?
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, at this time, I need a motion, let's see, need a motion to approve the consent items.
Yeah, I got some questions.
Okay.
I got some questions on the custodian and loan contracts. Where's AGS? I mean, where are they from? Are they, is that the AGS facilities manager out of Tennessee?
Dale, what is their base office?
I think they are based, like headquarters out of Tennessee, and they also have people in Virginia and North
They do?
Yeah.
Do y'all know of anybody who's used those?
Ashford City, Iredell, Statesville, what was the third system? Montgomery, and all the references are very good. Ashford City started using them last year.
Now, on that contract, does the custodian cleaning supplies,
That will be cleaning
that
supplies,
comes out of our
everything.
budget?
Yes, we were already paying a different place. We were paying now, they'll supply cleaning supplies, consumables, which is paper, your toilet paper, paper towels, also equipment. So this will be our supplier now, even if a school doesn't even have a contract custodian, this will be our supplier now for those.
So in our current budget, that $462,000 comes out,
Yeah, we won't need that.
we won't need that?
It'll go towards this.
It'll go toward.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We'll just need it in another place.
Okay.
We'll need it, Mr. Collins.
Yeah, I know we will. Who's gonna be responsible for these people on campus?
They will have supervisors provided by the company.
They'll have zone managers for like a group of schools, and then there'll be like one main supervisor as well. And then, of course, they also have people at the corporate office. You tier up, you know, if you need to, as far as moving up the chain, talk to whoever is needed. But again, they will have dedicated people that will be supervising everyone in the custodian for them and our custodians.
So how about they have somebody out? You
So
see?
they'll have to supply.
They'll have to supply.
Yeah, and something else we did when you were going through that equipment, they'll be
Yeah.
providing equipment.
Yeah, I saw
So,
that.
yes, that'll be another bonus, just like in the lawn care contract, we had a lawnmower catch on fires Friday afternoon, or Thursday afternoon. That's probably a good $8,000 to $10,000, the mowers we were providing for schools were, I'd probably say they're probably close to 10 now. I don't know, Larry, knowing now what the supply chain is now, but nice mowers, but one caught on fire the other day. So that would That, on that contract, that would not be our equipment anymore to replace.
Is there, with this custodial contract, you know, will they still sort of answer? I know you said they got supervisors and zone supervisor. As far as the principals, I mean, is it good understanding the principals can go to them and say, hey, need to do this, need to do that? Or is the principal got to skip the custodians and go to the supervisor?
Now, the principal can still talk to our custodians or the contract custodians. It's just, they're gonna have a supervisor in place to make sure they have all the cleaning supplies they need, the equipment, and make sure they know their daily tasks that they need to complete.
I just want to, I know sometimes you get in that, I don't work for you, I work for me.
They're on our campus, they are gonna answer to us. And if there are issues with their performance, then we won't have them as a personnel issue, it'll be the personnel issue of HES.
Well, the head custodian in the same role that he's talking about as the principal. If I show up to work, do I report to the head custodian, or do I just come in and do whatever?
Well, the head custodian, for where we have head custodians.
Right,
You know, and how long will that continue, don't know, but they'll obviously have leadership there. And if we're having issues, then we'll report back to the company. If it's their employee, if it's our employee, we'll deal with it through HR.
So if we have, like, what I can, there's some everywhere there, I mean, not everything's perfect in the world. If you have a custodian which is weak, and these people come in, who will address that? Like, they're doing all the work, and our regular custodian, like the school has one custodian, and they seem to be putting it all on these people. Well, the principal should be the one to step up to the plate on that and say, look, you're here to work too, right?
Yeah, if one of our employees puts it on them,
Yeah.
or
like
the other
that.
way around.
No, I'm not, I'm worried more about one of our employees puts it on them, and they sit back in an office while they're doing all the work. Well,
That's gonna become an HR issue for us, and it'll go from there.
because I've talked to some people where these people come in and clean, they actually seem to work pretty hard from what I've heard now.
Well, we're going down this path because there's absolutely no workforce out there. There is no workforce, and when you're cleaning a school with, like one school right now, I can tell you has 2 8-hour custodian jobs open, a 7 and a 3.5, or at least the last time I looked. Maybe they've hired somebody in the last week or so, but last time I pulled it, that's how many of their custodian positions are open. And I don't know how they're getting done, so.
See, that was one of my questions, because I counted 20 Friday that were open, that were custodians, either full-time custodian, full-time bus driver, or the school nutrition assistant, bus driver type thing. And there was 20, so this money's gonna be used to address those 20.
Yes.
Mr. Cook, were you looking on the vacancy?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's actually a few more that hasn't been posted yet, and Alicia's been working on those, but there's actually a few more.
Yeah, the money for personnel that has been for these positions will address the personnel that comes. The money in the budget for the consumables will be shifted to pay that bill with this group, or that portion of the bill. And then you're talking about equipment, they'll bring equipment, but we'll also have the cleaning supplies that we'll have to, that's part of the total package.
How about criminal background checks?
Yes, they do, I guess, E-Verify.
Yes.
Yeah, you probably use that too.
I do that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they,
Go ahead.
and they will only be sent to where they're needed.
Yes. If there's a school right now full with all employees in place, then that part won't affect them, but the supplies and all that will.
And the reason I was asking about the 20 is because if you take that 1.9 million and take out the cleaning supplies and the equipment, and you divide that by 20 employees, that's paying $73,000 for each one of those.
Yes. We were quoting on 33. There were 33 positions in the quote, correct, Dale? So that gets it on up.
Okay,
That gets it on up, because I did the same math last week. And then And Todd and Dale and Larry have all been involved. Lee Broadway, I think, has been involved with this as well. Larry, is that correct? Our supervisor of our custodians. So they've been looking at all these factors to make sure this was something that was commensurate. But again, we wouldn't be going here at all if it wasn't for the absolute absence of the workforce.
I have some questions about the loan thing.
Okay?
Explain to me on the appendix, where it says the Exhibit A, the statement of work, and you have all those dollars amount per school? So,
That's where he's walked the yards and he's given us the estimate of what it costs to do that yard every time he does it.
so is there a schedule of how many times they do it?
We'll be about every 2 weeks unless we see, say we go into a major time without rain, we'll drop back then. I think we figured 18 times a year, Dale, is that right? Looking at going every other week, approximately. We did add Braxton Craven campus back to it, so that that's why if you see, that caught my eye somewhere this weekend on something I was reading where Dale had put 31 campuses, or maybe I've written down 31 campuses, like, whoa, what's the 31st? And I remember we put Braxton back. We've been keeping Braxton cut, kind of. Steve Myers has been doing that, as he's been finishing up on Trinity Middle with the building, but we felt like we needed to go ahead and put that in because we don't have a definitive plan for what to do with Braxton, so we felt like going ahead and putting that in was the thing to do. Because we surely can't have that yard just get out of control. That's not fair to that community.
So they can charge us this amount that's listed by the school, even if they don't do mowing, if they
Yeah.
just do weed eating and they can't, okay.
We'll be going in and looking at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That would be all full services provided for that
Okay.
cost.
Okay, that's,
We just, and Mr. Cutler, the person we're recommending, obviously you served us already, and I can tell you, he physically, back in the fall, physically walked every campus with Dale Brinkley at that time. So it was 3 days I didn't see Dale, because he was out and about. Go to every campus and walk every campus.
That's a job.
So,
yeah, the only other thing I had was about the, also within there, they can charge us 20% more where the mowing hasn't been neglected. Well, they're responsible for it.
Well, it won't be neglected now because they're doing it right now. So so they're finishing up the June 30 contract that they're under right now. Dale, is that?
And, yes, and you're right, Mr. Cutler. They've been maintained, so that.
Yeah, that it shouldn't be in the contract.
And then we also put in the contract that there's a cap on what they can increase their charges.
Well, Mr. Cutler,
During the contract.
it not being in the contract, it could be, we could become, I guess, I don't know if you'd say negligent, but if we told him to go and don't cut for 5 weeks, then we've created that problem, but we're not gonna do that. Because if we went 5 weeks and he would have a yard out of control, and then it would be, but we're not gonna do that. If we tell him not to cut, it's gonna be because we don't have any grass growing, my grass is turning brown now, like probably everybody else's is.
On special occasions or anything, if they haven't mowed in 2 weeks and we're having an event on campus, would they?
We did a little bit of that this spring, did we not? And we're leaving the mowers at the school sites, so if people want to do some kind of touch-up work in between, and they can work that out with their staff, and we're not, right now, we haven't picked up any mowers, have we, Larry? We haven't, and so that's a lot of manpower. We'll figure out what we're gonna do there right now. We did some of that, because we talked to this very vendor back last year, when we first started on the trial basis back in the fall, about, there may be times when we need at least the front half of the yard cut for open house or whatever. Are you gonna be willing to go out there? Because we all lose, just the perception. You walk up in the grass to your knees and they're coming to open house. That's not exciting enough else event.
They've been good to work with since February.
Oh, yeah. Oh, but they started, remember,
We
back in
added-
September.
We added the other part in February. The
No.
additional contract for the.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, and remember the first time, everybody, and then we gave people a
Gauge for
chance.
schools, yeah.
On the special event things or the charges?
No, I mean, if it was if it worked out with the schedule the same, again, that's why we asked for per mode, per price, in case we needed to have some flexibility in a special event or weather related.
Good. You think we'd have a chance to find any companies out there that would, do a bus, like a contract or something, where they pick up kids or do that part for us? Is there anything anywhere around that could be affordable if you get
Yeah, there's your.
pushed to show? I guess affordable probably hard to find,
That
wouldn't it?
might be your answer there.
Affordable's the key word.
It's amazing what the workforce has caused people to do, have to look outside the box that you never would have thought you would be facing. I mean, it's everywhere, it's just a shame, I mean, you know? But you know what? It's not anybody's fault. I mean, I saw it right on TV this weekend. It's nobody's fault. Just like our gas prices, nobody's fault. I'm not even going there. Like he fell off his bike. But anyway, oh, and also, we're going to, I'm gonna get a motion, but I'm gonna make another comment here. I noticed recommendation.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to take that off and not do it, I mean, speak down forever holds your peace. To delete the board policy about face coverings. I mean, you guys want, if y'all enjoy still voting on it, anybody wants to leave it on there, let me know. If not, we're gonna delete that sucker. That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, the law expires
The
at
law
the end of
expires.
21-22 school years, so that's why it's on there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be done.
Be fine with me if we never see that again. Okay, so I need a motion to approve the consent items.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, this time we're gonna move to the, we'll do the next one.
I'll do both.
All right.
Okay, board members, the next item I'll deal with the H2 items and those are under operations, but I've been involved in them and just for, share with you some things there. The first thing is the tiered bus plan, and heard Mr. Cook's comments. I want to publicly thank Wendy and Jamie and staff for work they did to, y'all know this, and I appreciate staff. We're trying to figure out something. We got to get kids to school, and we'll figure out something. But I'll bring that back to you tonight. It's on the agenda, so I'll pause at this point and let the board do as you see fit with that. All right.
Does anybody have any discussion, anything they want to add?
I mean, I would like for us to see if there's anything we can do to increase the pay for bus drivers. And any type of incentive plan or something, explore those and see if those are options. Maybe see what neighboring counties are doing.
I checked, there's a neighboring county that actually was doing an incentive plan where if you don't miss work, if you drive X amount of days and you fulfill your duties. I mean, I know that's gotta be huge in Randolph County because I know people just don't come to work anymore. I mean, a lot of people, and I know that I hear from a lot of schools, I'm sure that puts transportation in a bind too, and they're always depending on this person, and you have to get a sub, but I don't know, I agree with that.
Another thing too that not only going to affect us now, but in Randolph County, is the auto plan in the future. They're going to be paying people a whole lot more than what people are being paid now. And so if we can do anything to get ahead of this, because people are going to be pulled away from businesses. I mean, they're not going to be able to afford to pay what this place will probably pay employees.
Well, you know, they, like you said, the auto plant, you know, they were first saying the average salary there was gonna be $62,000 a year. And sitting in the county commissioners meeting last Monday, just hearing them talk about the rezoning and all, you know, there's gonna be a bunch of more companies come in too, because they've already heard that from other companies who won't even be located at the mega site because they don't want to be located at the mega site because they don't want to compete with Toyota for the employees. So, you know, there's gonna be companies gonna be moved out in Randolph County, Guilford County, Alamance County. So that's gonna make it even more competitive. You know, if I can drive 10 miles to a job making $50,000 a year versus driving 45 minutes to a job, and it's gonna get real competitive in the next few years.
Got a lot of small businesses. I mean, our company's been in business for a little over 40 years, and I can see this impacting us.
You know, being a firefighter, we're seeing fire departments hiring people with no experience, starting to pay $50,000 a year to work 10 days a month. And I mean, it's the whole economy. I mean, you know, smaller departments like mine, you pay somebody $35,000, $36,000 a year, you can't compete. And that's the way it's gonna become with everything.
Well, too, the state's always thumb their nose up at classified jobs. I mean, it's a slap in the face, you know, some of the things that they've been doing for years now. And we've got to do something.
I'm hoping we get some new representation down there, things will get better, don't you? But I'll tell you something else that kind of troubles me. What is it, July the 1st, a lot of you classified if you weren't making $15 an hour, you'll be making 15. Well, that kind of bothers me a little bit. That's something the state's putting on you. I mean, what do you do about a guy that's been with you 5 or 6 years? He's making 15 now, and then you've hired somebody that he's working next to, and they're not any good. And that's a slap in the face. He's what doing that. I mean, honestly, we're going to have to come up with some kind of incentive program probably across the board if we find a way. I don't know. I mean, I can only imagine it's a constant battle for like your mechanics and stuff. I mean, I can only imagine in that department because, you know, I deal with that and hear about that, and you do a great job keeping. I mean, I think a lot of the way you guys keep people is because you got good people looking after people. So you can't put a price on that, but I'll tell you something. Yes, support staff and all that, but you know, even though we can't work the tier bus thing, but I do want you to know, you guys, people like working for you guys, and I hear it every day. You're good, and that means a lot, you know. Sometimes you get, it's not all about the buck, but you enjoy being around those people, and you guys are good people, so just know that. All right. So at this time, we need to, does anybody want to comment on the bus tier thing before a motion's made? We'll do this, ask
I think we need to look at it again and look at it a lot.
Well, yeah, I mean, we appreciate everything everybody did. It's just
Yes.
from the parents' perspective and the staff's perspective, they just put out a lot of ideas that some of them wasn't discussed, some of them were discussed, and it's just not gonna fit for them.
No.
It's just not gonna work right now. We do appreciate the staff trying to come up with something.
Yes.
We're gonna have to come up with bonuses or something in order to keep people, but, it's nothing personal, but it's not gonna fit. And we know, I don't know how it is in other counties, but in Randolph County, if it don't fit, there's no need trying to force it. If it don't fit, it's just gonna be a problem.
Okay, at this time, I need a motion to stop the tier bus plan at this time.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Elizabeth, do you think that covers?
Is that good?
I mean, so just to clarify, what you all did was
rescind the action that you took at the last meeting.
That's correct.
Correct?
Unapproved.
Yes.
I think that's fine.
That good? Okay.
All right.
Dr. Gainey, you still?
Okay, the next item I would like to discuss tonight is a revision to the school calendar. If you remember back on, I guess it was, let's see what date it was, April 4th, I sent you an email and talked about the letters training that the K-5 teachers will be going through. At that time, it was 422 K-5 teachers and some additional staff, lead teachers, EC resource teachers. Letters training, we're in the third cohort. This is required by the state. It is outlined in legislation with the science of reading, and this is one of the vehicles being used with the science of reading. So the teachers have 8 3-hour sessions they have to do during the first year. And make sure everybody understands, we don't have any control over the trainers. Lynette has to, where's Lynette? Lynette's over there. Lynette is, and Kathy have been working on this. They have to reach out to the staff, to the state. They tell them the schedule, and then we get response back whether that's going to work. So we had a schedule set, and you remember that the calendar law, we go by 1,025 hours. I want to make sure when everybody hears this, that might be listening tonight, nothing I'm going to recommend tonight does away with the idea that we absorb the first 5 days for bad weather. We've done that ever since my first year. We also have 2 2-hour early release days in the calendar. One is December 20, 2022, and one is June 9, 2023. So we're okay if we have to use those 5 days for weather. We're okay. And obviously we have to account for those 2-hour delays, which is 4 hours total. And looking at some things last week, talking to Kathy, and I think Lynette was in that first meeting, Kathy, with us, if I remember right. We were talking, and we had, the idea came up, could we insert 4 of those 8 3-hour sessions as early release days to give the teachers a break? The sessions, the after school, those 8 3-hour sessions right now are 3:30 to 6:30, and we are proposing tonight, or I'm proposing with talking with staff, that on 4 of those days, and the days that I've listed are September 15, because there's already a September 8 training that day, so they would go 3:30 to 6:30 on September 8. Then in September, there's 1 week later, I'm proposing that one go 1 to 4. We let out at 12:30 that day. And I'll tell you more about that in a minute. October 27th, they'll have the 3:30 to 6:30. November 17th, as we go into the holidays, we're getting into winter, make that one of the days it's a 12:30 release, so they can go 1 to 4 and get off campus at a good time. And then January, they have a January 12 and January 19. We really can't do January 12 because we're dealing with exams and all that at high school level. January 19, 1 to 4. Leave the January 12th like it is, and then March 9 and March 16, we do March 16 as 1 to 4. So basically, went into every month that had 2 trainings in the same month, took the second one to 12:30 early release those days so they could have the session from 1 to 4. And then we had one more one to put in, and we put it in November 17. So that's how that came about. It would give our teachers a little bit of a break. They have to do the training, these 8-hour training, 3-hour trainings, 8 of them. One thing I would say is that on these 8 sessions, per the state, not our money, they were going to get paid $62.50 per session. For these 4 that would happen because of early release, they would not be able to get that money because you can't be paid twice for the same hours. If we're going to pay you for that second half of the day. So that will be the only drawback to the teachers. Honestly, I would hope the time factor in getting them off campus on 4 of those 8 days would be the preference there. So I bring that as a recommendation tonight. looking to see, don't get the stipend. 12:30, now you guys know that we usually do on early release, 2 hours early release. This one needs to be a hard 12:30 release so we can get the training going at 1 those days for everybody. Now, the other piece is, so now middle school and high school are getting 4 early release days they didn't have. Well, we're going to plan staff development for those levels also. We're having a system-wide PLC training, professional learning community training, to strengthen that back up from where we were prior to the pandemic, prior to the time that the pandemic started shutting us down. So we're going to do that. That may be what happens at the high school, middle school level, but we will have designated staff development from 12:30 to 4 on those days, or 1 to 4 on those days for those levels as well. So it's not ideal, but this whole plan is not ideal. With the state, I'm not being critical. It's focused on reading, which is the #1 academic skill in my opinion. If you struggle in reading, you're going to struggle in math. You're going to struggle in science. You're going to struggle in social studies. And you're going to struggle in your English and language arts classes. I did a 3-hour training session yesterday. Superintendents, when this all came down, we felt like we didn't know enough about what was being asked of our teachers, so I had a 3-hour training on Wednesday, and I have another session coming, another 3-hour session coming, just to bring us up to speed. Not nowhere near the depth of what the teachers will be doing. It is good stuff, is it not, Kathy and Lynette? It's good materials, and they do have some independent work they'll be doing each week with this, but it's also, it can be, that work can be involved in their classroom application as well. So I'll bring that tonight just to, as something to provide additional support for our staff, our teachers, particularly at the elementary level. It's not going to, the training at the high school, middle school level, with whether we do PLC training or whatever we choose to do, Kathy, I'll leave that in Kathy's hands, but that's one thing that comes to my mind, because one of our initiatives was system-wide PLC training to strengthen that as we get cranked back up in many areas of the school system. So I'll bring that to you tonight, and I'll answer any questions you have.
Is this going to be annual?
No. Now, here's the question, Mr. Cutler, that I have that the state's going to struggle with, and again, I'm not being critical of the state at all. We have a 2-year window to get our teachers trained. And my question is, how are we going to sustain this? Because teachers are going to come in during year 2, and they're going to come in during year 3 even if we got everybody trained, there's going to be a brand new teacher, not this year, next year, but the next that'll need this. So, there's more to come. That's been the question among a bunch of my peers. How do we maintain this? How do we sustain this? So, more to come on that one, because we're not getting a real good answer there. And that's not a overnight plan, I don't think. So I have to believe somebody behind the scenes in Raleigh is making some plans with this. But we dealt with it on a smaller scale with some trainings that once school starts, people do here. But it's a statewide issue. And there's been 2 cohorts of school systems that have already been through this work. I would say I was glad we were in the 3rd cohort, because we got to see a lot of things work out, and but our time's down. 22, 23 is year 1 of our cohort, so we have to start moving. So that would be my recommendation. I know it does add. I'm not oblivious to the idea that it adds 4 more early release days to families, but would like to do something to provide some extra support for our teachers, particularly our elementary teachers who have been hit with this. It's been out there, but it's our time to be involved in it, and this will give us a little bit of creativity. I get it. Maybe we could have done this. We couldn't have probably done it 2 years ago, because we didn't know enough about it 2 years ago when this calendar was actually approved. But I just think it's the right thing to do, or to bring forward as an option. So I'll leave that with you, Mr. Cutler, and Mr. Cook, and board members, and we can go from there. Okay? Any other questions?
I would think teachers would appreciate that. That's good, you guys working to make that happen, I think. So if there's no more questions, I need a motion to revise the 2022-2023 school calendar to add early release days on September 15th, 2022, November 17th, 2022, January 19th, 2023, and March 16th, 2023, with a release time of 12:30 p.m. Yeah, that's, we're messing with your calendar, you okay with that?
Need to make the motion.
Yes, we'll make that motion.
I'm good with that.
Okay, so there's a motion, do we have a second? All right, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, board members, and I do want to mention one thing about that, with Wendy in the back and her staff, with us all leaving at the same, our kids all leaving at the same time, there's going to be a little bit of maneuvering, because our 2-hour early release days everybody doesn't leave at the same time, because if you look at our bell schedules, so we will have some situations where we will may have some groups of kids not leaving at the same amount of time, but we'll work through that individually with the principals. But I appreciate it. I appreciate you support our teachers, and I appreciate this, and I hope this will be something added that will help this training move forward and help them get off campus on those 4 days earlier than originally planned.
Okay.
This time I move that the Randolph County Board of Education will enter into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute to preserve the attorney-client privilege, to discuss confidential personnel matters protected by North Carolina General Statute, and to discuss confidential student matters if needed, protected by FERPA.
Can we have the motion to go into closed session, have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? We're in closed session. I never had any of that.
See, they're used to having like an hour or two break back here.
Yes.
They weren't ready to hop
Look,
back.
look, there he comes in, he's already looks less stressed on
He does.
You got a 10-minute break, he looks less stressed on.
He made a cute little baby though.
That's right.
He did that. Anyway,
Put it on the screen.
I wish I had, if I had to, we put it up there, get his haircut. And Franklin, that was nice. So we need a motion to approve the certified personnel report.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We need a motion to approve the classified personnel report.
So moved.
We have a second. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We need a motion to approve the administrative appointment.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We need a motion to approve the administrative transfer.
So moved.
We have a second. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
All right, have a second. Come on, Ryan.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good deal.